Welcome everyone to our Take Charge of Your Life discussions. Our focus here is self-mastery and living an abundant life while living into our full potential. I am Roberta and I'm the owner of Wake Up to Life Wellness. I'm a holistic health practitioner and also a certified trainer to do this Elite Mentorship Forum, personal transformation work. And so really my passion and focus is mind, body, and soul transformation, which is the structure of our call here today. And this is my co-host Tish.
Hi, I'm Tish Taylor of Growth Centric Living. I am also a certified trainer under our mentor, Mr. Peter Sage. And I personally would call myself a mindset trainer and a personal transformation guide. My goal is to influence and assist others that are ready to invest in themselves and grow and learn about the power that it really means to be us while influencing future generations to come.
Beautiful. So to introduce Peter as our focus here today and his work, he is an expert in human behavior and leadership. He's a world-class motivational speaker. He's spoken in 62 countries and 5 continents and is currently preparing to do his 7th TED Talk, which is no one else I know of has done that many TED Talks. He's inspiring audiences across the globe with an audience of over 50 million people that have heard his message so far. And his mission really is to provide us with mindset mastery and tools necessary for personal growth and success. So he's empowering us to achieve our highest potential. And the structure of our call that we'll be walking through our topic today is mind, body, and soul transformation. So we talk about live empowered in the mindset, live healthy in the body, and live free in the soul. And Tish will introduce us to our topic.
Yeah. So this week we are still talking about values as we were last week. This is actual module 10 in our premium program called the Elite Mentorship Program. And just to give you a little bit reminder, this is expanding on last week. We're going to talk about values, which are the things that are important to you, and the rules that are attached to those values, which you define as the standards set on how you know that you're living up to those values. And we'll give you some examples throughout our discussion. In this video, Peter gets more specific in describing 2 types of values. Towards values, the things we are working towards and we want more of, and away from values, the things that we might be avoiding in life. So let me pull this video up. We'll listen and then continue our discussion.
When I ask somebody what's most important to them in life, I often get a blank stare. Now, when you really drill down and say, okay, what do you value most? And people start to think, we realize that values form 2 different camps. We have values that we want to experience more of, things we want to go towards, like health, like joy, like love. We also have values that we want to move away from, things like rejection, things like fear, like judgment, or the fear of being judged. And so, do you understand how to make those 2 different distinctions in a conscious way, or like a pinball in a machine, most people just bouncing away from what they don't like, hoping to go towards what they do like? When you take conscious charge and actually start mapping out, write down 5 things that I love and value the most, and 5 things I want to avoid. You set the game up consciously to navigate in order to win.
Yeah, that's a beautiful explanation and clarity. As we lean into this, it seems like a little bit of a deep dive into understanding this, but as we just, take in more of it, it really does change our life and our direction of focus for life. And so when I think of the mind area of living empowered in our framework here, I think of, getting that clarity of direction, like Peter said, we're either moving towards something we don't want or towards something we want. Really, both of them take the same amount of effort and the same amount of energy. We might as well choose. We might as well be conscious in our focus and direction. So the mind does need that clear compass. Otherwise, it runs on default, like he shared, just being a pinball, just being pushed around by life and hoping that somehow, some way I could get to what I wanted, but still having all this chaos in my outer world just kind of pushing me around. So I did a lot of reacting to emotions with a lot of, post-traumatic stress running through my veins. It was like there was always a lot of emotional charge, and really trying to get that mind to settle down and to focus on, what was positive in my life. That was an effort in itself. And so having this framework of the towards and away from values really is a game changer in intercepting just wild thoughts that are running on autopilot and really being clear, what I want in my life. And so that's been a huge, huge part of my transformation for myself. So the towards values, they give your mind direction, like I said, while away from values keep you in survival mode. And yeah, that's just huge, because I think by nature, truly we live in survival mode, because that's what our most immediate fears and reactions in our physiology will say. We want to keep safe, and so we're always going to have that instinctive desire to survive. That's natural. But when we're living from a higher conscious place of the human evolved mind that can stretch beyond just survival and live into like empowerment and amazing creativity and brilliance in the world, it's really in our best interest, right, to lean into a higher consciousness, not just survival. Because I don't know for anyone else, but my survival world was brutal to live in that space for so long. It was just like I spent my whole life trying to get to that higher place of living a full life with joy and expansion and, possibility, but always felt like I was pulled back into survival mode. And actually, this is one of Peter's definitive works here with the towards and away from values that really, shifted that for me at a very powerful and deep way.
I resonate with that so strongly. That's exactly what drew me to this work as well, is just feeling like I was being pushed away around by life and not realizing why. Mm-hmm. And this module and the work that we do in this module in that premium program is exactly what was aha moments to me when I realized I was betraying myself and my goals, because my away from values were things like rejection or judgment. So I literally would drop anything. Like I would say that I was trying to build, a career, or say that one thing is important to me, like my taking care of myself, my own growth. But then, a family member would call or a kid would be sick, and I would just drop everything to go and do that instead, because, I needed them to see me, and trying to avoid them feeling bad, or, not doing my job towards them, those kinds of things. So, and that was really running my life. No wonder felt like I was in survival mode. I wasn't making any decisions for myself. It was just whatever called on the phone that was an emergency. That's what I went and did. So this has really helped me to kind of hone and learn that, my towards values and the things that are important to me can be important, and I can draw boundaries towards that and change, rewording my away from values to be less stringent in that, I can be a good person and avoid, some of those character flaws, but still set boundaries and be clear to myself. I can still be kind and, be true to myself and honest and authentic.
Yeah, that's a really good description. I can totally identify with that too. My away from value was avoiding rejection or disconnection. So then I would just pour myself into other people in very unhealthy ways over time, codependently. And so, yeah, I was self-sabotaging. To me, that's kind of the definition of self-sabotage, when our, away from values take over and we aren't moving towards our true life and we're just letting something else run the show. That to me was definitely my experience for me. So if your rules for experiencing values are too complicated, your mind will constantly feel like it's failing. So like if I say I'll feel successful only when I achieve X outcome, like that's been my life story too. Like I'm always trying to get to the next thing, then everything will be okay. So if I feel like that's my rule, that I have to feel successful when I achieve some big, big thing, then that keeps success far away, because I'm constantly being, distracted by, there's bumps in the road. There's no straight line to that goal. And every time something came along, then I would feel like, I'm never going to get there, because I had too many rules in my head saying that I was failing because I attached certain meaning to it. So when I think of, if I put rules in that give me consistent wins, like I'll feel successful every time I, walk for 30 minutes, or I'll feel successful every time money comes in my account. It doesn't matter how much it is, so I can just set up certain rules that just remind me to celebrate the wins instead of always focusing on what's not there. That was my life story. So our tip for the mindset is write your top towards values, such as health, love, or joy, whatever it is you're really love the most in life and want to see manifest in your life, and ask, what is the simple, most immediate way that I can allow myself to feel this every single day? And so when you make it that simple, and so like if I say I feel joy every time I notice something beautiful around me, then I can set myself up to win, to experience a win on a regular basis. And over time, that becomes my, dominant way of thinking and seeing things. So it reframes my mind to create fulfillment every day instead of chasing it like someday, just maybe lowering the meter, the measuring stick, and just choosing one thing instead of the big long outcome.
Beautiful. And we're going to expand that right into our next section, which is live more healthy in the physical realm. Your physical health is often most directly a mirror of your values. If we can be frank here, your values and your rules. If your values are more about avoiding pain and moving away from things, then moving towards things like vitality or health, then most likely you will see that in your physical health and how your body shows up for you. For example, if you hold strong away from values like avoiding judgment, some of those things we've been talking about, avoiding failure or avoiding the feeling of not being good enough, then you probably aren't going to go to a gym, because all of your insecurities are going to show up there when you try to lift, the 5 pounds or whatever you can, right? Lift at that time, because you're starting from scratch. So you don't want to look bad. You're not going to want to feel like you're not enough. And that's going to be way stronger than any kind of health value if this is the case for you. Or if you have away from value, that means that you avoid discomfort. Same thing, right? Then you're going to quit anything that feels hard or requires discipline and grit, which, a lot of the times when we're building, especially in the health realm, right, we know things don't happen right away. And that's true for your mental health and your personal growth as well. Often it takes discipline. It takes keep showing up over and over again and moving through discomfort in order to get those successes. So we encourage you to contrast that with towards values like blessing your body with health or cultivating good energy. If those values are conscious, then every choice, drinking more water, getting enough sleep, saying yes to movement, these can become easier because they are aligned with something positive and something that you're moving towards. And this was fundamental for me in my own health. I think I mentioned that a little bit in our discussion last week, in how I was like, oh, I have to be perfect. I have to go to the gym like 5 times a week. Otherwise, I'm not fulfilling my health value. And that just didn't need to be true. I just needed to think about little ways that I could really love on myself. And this is an area that I'm very passionate about in when we talk about self-love. And we can show that in our physical body the easiest by showing up for ourselves, drinking water over pop more times than not, then we can create rules like that based on those values that really inspire us and give us some momentum to keep blessing ourselves, feeling good within our own bodies, and making better choices to nourish ourselves and honor our health.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. As I think of the away from values that most of the culture has been programmed with, is to avoid sickness and avoid focusing on your body in general. Like if I never look there, nothing will happen. It's like this avoidance thing. I'll just pretend, like, cross fingers, hopefully I'll stay well. That's really sabotages people's ability to transform, because the potential to transform is fully available in our culture. And yet, why are so many people sick and dying prematurely if the solution's already here? I know there's the solution to cancer, and there's a solution to Parkinson's, and even autism, and all these things to halt the progression of them and turn them around so people can regain their health. But most people don't believe that, because they've been programmed to focus on what they don't want and be afraid of looking at how to even embrace their body. There's such a fear around that, like, oh, it's going to cost too much. And oh, I don't know if that's going to work for me. They've been so programmed to believe it can't work for them. And I think of that as people focusing on what they don't want. So at the same time, they're avoiding moving towards, the solution. That's a huge, factor, I think, for most people, realizing that there is a different way. So if we could focus on, what can I do to empower my body to heal and get into that relationship and doing, like you said, small things each day, it'll just change the trajectory of people's health and their health status. And really, that's the movement that I would love to see in our culture.
It's almost ironic to me at this point in just how much we spend our money on other things that we don't need, that we've been convinced, like brand new phones and electronics and things, which, are all great. But then to say that we can't afford health and we can't afford to, take care of our bodies is just a testament to how much we've been conditioned and programmed, like you said, to think of health as a punishment or as, something that we don't need to think of, instead of this act of love and devotion towards ourselves that, if you aren't caring for your physical body, then other things don't matter as much. Like you can't function otherwise. Our brains don't function. We're missing the point in that. The most powerful value that we can set is that of self-love, that of blessing ourselves and considering our health. And so I encourage you to make rules that, loving myself every day and making choices to honor your physical health really needs to be an essential for all of us. So that is kind of along the lines of my tip for this section, is to reframe your health value. Write down one away from value that might be keeping you stuck. Are you avoiding failure, avoiding judgment? And then try to flip that around. Think of what your towards value could be instead. Are you going to move towards cultivating vitality, honoring my body as a gift, whatever that looks like in the verbiage that you are? And last week we touched on too, obviously, if you're already somebody that's fairly healthy in your body, we don't mean go backwards. Make your values and your rules for those values adhere to where you're at, so that they feel a little bit challenging, but also motivational. And we really want towards values to be easier to tap into than the away from values. So set one empowering achievement rule that goes along with whatever value it is you set for yourself. And some more examples would be: anytime I drink a glass of water, I am blessing my body with health.
Yeah, it gets exciting to think of momentum towards, empowering our body physically once we just can make some little shifts like that. So that's a awesome example. So living free from the soul is our next part of our framework. So I think of the soul realm as living with meaning and beyond fear, so that I'm not, again, focused on what I don't want, right, and running from it all the time. That's fear-based. Because my soul's purpose is to expand and to live more into my potential, create more abundance, more contribution in the world. So if I want to experience love, connection, creativity, and contribution, then often the loudest drivers are the away from values, like Tish mentioned earlier, that feeling of failure, judgment, rejection. Like, what if I, make a fool of myself, or what if my family member doesn't agree with me, or whatever that our, negative minds will say that we've been conditioned for. And that would override then our passion and desire and of expression in the world. That happened to me a lot. And I've just been thinking about that in the last week here, that I've been knowing in my soul and spirit that I was made for, joy and abundance and sharing something with the world, or sharing gifts with the world, things that I love. I love to help people. I love to contribute. I always have, but I'd get taken out of the game with my, other mindset, or that limiting belief, or fear of what people think, or being triggered by the stress response, all of them, which were driven by these underlying, mental patterns and beliefs. And so being able to, lean into this positive trajectory, it just, like, the whole world changes for myself and for people who do this. So if I have an example here of, I only feel loved if people praise or accept me, then that places my soul's fulfillment in someone else's hands. But if I say something like, I feel loved if every time that I, do something that is aligned with my soul. For me, it's like, every time I do a morning meditation or some kind of morning routine, or I connect, and do something that feels good to my spirit, then I can feel loved, right? I'm actually connecting with love. So it can be a truly an inner work. It doesn't have to be based on what other people are doing or not doing in the outer world. And so bringing that home into loving myself has been a huge part of it for me and how I'm expressing myself. Because when I don't care what other people think, then I'm free to live out my soul path.
Living into that freedom of realizing that, I am what I seek, that everything that we need is already within us, including that love. We have the power, we have the energy of the universe, God, that higher power that lives within us. We are everything that we need. And this was a fundamental shift in living free of opposed to, like we keep saying, being pushed around by the world and looking for to feel good by all of the external things that are out there in life, instead of realizing that we already are. This is what like soul freedom looks like. We can kind of reiterate some of the things again that we said, last week, in that clarity of your own authentic and your own soul alignment of your own worth, and the value of making sure that you're honoring that every day with simpler rules is, how we truly live free.
Yeah, it's like inviting ourselves, to a higher place and a better life and a more kind towards self life. Yeah, that's a big focus of mine too. Whenever I do get uncomfortable or irritated, I often it's because I'm not loving the self. Like somehow I've just put a judgment on myself. I'm disappointed in myself. I feel like I should be further along. When I just lean into self-acceptance, that just kind of neutralizes all that negative energy. And then I can get back on that, like what am I going towards, and the wins and the progress I'm making rather than what I'm running away from. So when you shift your rules, you really open your soul to a friendly universe. We're inviting love and meaning, and realizing that they're entirely possible for us every day, really, in any situation. Really, we can shift and make that definitive thing. Even when there's a hard thing that I say I might want to run away from, right? Maybe a loss or maybe a health condition or the pain, right? The physical pain. I could say I want to get away from this, right? That's natural. That would be my natural instinct. But when I lean into it and I say, this is for, something that is going to transform me, because inside every adversity is a gift. And if I can hold space for that experience and I can accept it in the moment and not judge it and not resist it, then I get to feel the transformation that comes from that experience, which is on the other side, which contributes to, my growth and my maturity as a person. So just really, this is a huge mindset shift, really, and a soul shift ultimately, to be able to lead into this, dynamic of life. So the tip would be to ask yourself, what rule are you living by right now that blocks you from feeling love or worth or connection? And then rewrite it into a rule that's simple and abundant and within your control. You get to design the rules for your life, no one else. And this is like true freedom to me at a soul level, when I quit letting other people define, what my expectations were, what my, demands were in life, and I just start creating my own. It's just so much more, freeing, obviously.
So that is bringing us closer to the end of our discussion today. So if I can recap a little bit in summary, in our live empowered mindset piece, we talked about how towards values, give your mind direction, versus away values, keeping you in survival mode, being pushed more around by the world, opposed to intentionally setting your compass as to where you want to go. And our tip was to write out towards values and give yourself simple rules to ensure you're living them daily. In the body and live healthy, again, your away values may be keeping you from moving toward health, or showing yourself self-love, and loving towards your body, being loving towards your body. Or as we talked about last week as well, sometimes your rules might be too rigid, which is, meaning you don't feel like you are meeting those values, even though you might be taking healthy steps. So simplify those rules in your towards values for the place that you're at currently in your own journey and your own growth. And then lastly, in the soul realm, in living free, again, you're away from values may be keeping you from feeling love, worth, and freedom, that which the universe has designed you, to embody. Spend some time here considering what you're avoiding and intentionally select towards values that align you with, who you are, the power from within, and give yourself simple rules to help you embody the unbreakable power that we all have and we're born with.
Excellent, thank you. So as we get to the close of our discussion, I just wanted to share that, most people spend their lives really reacting. As we've talked, we chase what we don't want, and then we wait for circumstances to change. So then I'm really a victim, right, of my circumstances. I didn't know I had so much power to influence reality until I did Peter's work and, give myself permission to step out of the victim mode, out of everything happens to me, and, really lean into how can I change my outer world, right? Because that's fully within my power. So if you could rewrite the rules of how you experience life and really live up to your highest values with that clarity that we're talking about, which the ultimate result is freedom in our life, that's what the Elite Mentorship Forum is offering us in that 6-month transformational experience. So it's been a proven framework that just, there's no way that we can go and do this work and not change. Like it's a fundamental fact that doing this and leaning into this experience will transform us into a different version of ourselves. So I tell people there's no risk in pursuing that. And why are we waiting? Why not stop surviving and start thriving, since that, that potential is right before us. And it's just a warm and heartfelt invitation for you to reach out, to see if this is something that would align with your life.
Everyone's on their own journey, but I can't express enough about how, there are definitely times that I wish I had known this sooner. I wish I had found this work sooner, and am amazed at what my life could be like. That's part of the reason why part of my purpose in my business, my vision is to, inspire the adults so that future generations learn faster. I already have 2 children that are embodied in this work, and I am so excited about what their lives will turn out to be, considering, having this information up front before they're programmed negatively by the world. And so we both have cohorts starting soon, and we invite you to reach out if any of this inspires you. In our talks, we can only touch on very little of what's actually encompassed in our full program. So please reach out if you're ready to invest in yourself and join our communities. And then, therefore, to end, we have a quote like we always do. This one is by Roy E. Disney. When your values are clear, your decisions are easy.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time and connecting with us. We look forward to our next discussion.
See you next time.